Well, that doesn't look good.
Excuse me, sir. Are you in charge here?
Unfortunately. Who are you? This area isn't open to the public.
I'm Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator looking into the murder of one of your workers.
A private investigator, eh? And maybe you can help me out.
I'll do what I can, but I'll need to ask you some questions, Mr.
Mims. Sanford Mims. Go ahead, but make it snappy.
What can you tell me about Hannibal Kirkland? A former employee here?
Listen, I've got a lot on my mind right now.
I understand, but it's important to my investigation that you tell me what you know about him.
I'm sure it is, but as you can see, I've got a lot to deal with right now.
Well, he's no help. Maybe you can figure out a way to help him help us.
What happened to your iron mill?
What's it look like? The damn thing went and got blown up.
Was it in disrepair?
Of course not. All my machinery is sound, checked and serviced regularly. This is the work of those goddamn Redites. I'm sure of it.
What makes you certain the explosion was the Redites doing?
Take a look, boy. The whole mill got taken out. Even if this had been a mechanical failure, which it wasn't, the explosion would have been contained to a single part of the machine. This couldn't have been anything other than sabotage.
Have you had problems with the Redites before?
They've sent anonymous letters, but this is the first time they've actually carried out one of their threats.
You're absolutely sure this was sabotage, then?
Yes. How many times have I got to tell you that? Listen, you said you were an investigator, right? So find out who did this to my machine. If you do, I'll help you out with whatever else you wanted to ask me about.
Looks like we haven't got much of a choice. He seems pretty upset about his machine.
I'll see what I can do. Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
The who?
He's a serial murderer who's killed 5 men over the past 4 months.
Is that right? Never heard of him.
He may have killed one of your men. Weren't the police here asking about it?
Oh, is that what that was all about? I know they came poking around here a while back, but I was busy dealing with other things.
It's nice to see the lines of communication here are wide open.
How long have you been the foreman here?
Sometimes I think it's been too long. Things were so much easier before we got these machines. They keep saying they're supposed to improve our lives, but they've been nothing but trouble. I've already had 5 of my best men get mangled by some of them. And then there's these damn fools blowing things up. My hair wasn't this gray 5 years ago, you know. I swear, one of these days, I'm just going to pack it all up and retire. Let someone else deal with these damn things.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
You there! What are you doing?
I'm Miles Fordham. I'm trying to find out about...
No time for that now! Get in here and shield your eyes!
I beg your pardon?
Just do it!
What's going on exactly?
Shh! Everything ready, Alex? 3, 2, 1, go! Amazing! It works! It works!
What works?
Etheric lamps! Our experiment was a success!
What exactly have we wandered into here, Miles?
May I ask you a few questions?
Of course! What would you like to know?
You worked with a man named Burley Cause, is that right?
Yes, I heard he was killed. Such a senseless tragedy. It's a shame he missed out on our demonstration. He was really interested in etheric technology.
Wasn't he concerned about losing his job to these technological advances?
He had no reason to. It's been made clear to all the workers that there will always be a place for us, even if our jobs are made obsolete. Unlike some other places, we take care of our own here at the Lamplight Depot.
How noble. But I'm pretty sure he's full of more hot air than the HMS Lenore.
Is there anything you know about Mr. Cause's personal life that might be relevant?
I know he was married, but I don't believe he had any children. Oh, and he used to talk about his love for fishing.
Could you give me his home address? Perhaps his wife will be willing to speak with me.
Yes, certainly. He lived at 820 Orchard Avenue, apartment 2A.
Thank you for the information. Do you know any details about Mr. Cause's murder?
Unfortunately, I don't. The police were here asking questions, but they didn't give me many details.
Do you know of anyone who might have wanted him dead?
Not at all. Burley was very friendly, always treated everyone around here with respect. You know, it's sad to think that for all our leaps forward, we're still really just a bunch of savages.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
I've read about it in the newspaper. A horrible business. It makes me wish we could install more street lamps to keep this city safer at night. Someday, I hope to realize that dream. Then we'll really deserve to be called Lamplight City.
You think brighter streets will stop serial murderers?
It's well known that crime rates are lower in Lyon and Worcester, and they have many more street lamps per square mile.
I'm sure it has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of wealth in those areas. Has to be all about the lighting.
You mentioned something about etheric lamps?
Yes! Weren't you paying attention to our demonstration? You have just witnessed history!
What I witnessed was a blinding flash of light.
Exactly! That flash was the result of years of painstaking research and experimentation. It means that not only does ethericity exist, but it can be used as a source of illumination. If these experiments continue to be successful, as I suspect they will, we'll have etheric street lamps before the end of the decade. Imagine lamps that burn twice as bright, 4 times as long. Oh, this will change everything.
And if it's like anything else we've seen, it'll put a lot of people out of work, too.
With all these promises of technological advancement, have the Redites given you any trouble?
Oh, those tech-fearing dolts. Yes, I'm sorry to say that we've gotten threats from them. They have yet to carry any out, which is unsurprising.
How so?
Groups like that are all bluster and no backbone.
I've seen some evidence to the contrary.
Is that right? Well, we've seen little beyond threatening letters, and I intend to make sure it stays that way.
You have any of these letters I might have a look at?
Yes, I have one. I'll give it to you before you leave.
What is it you do here exactly?
Oh, several things. This is the main hub of the city's Department of Illumination. It's really just a grandiose way of saying that this is where all affairs related to street lamps and public lighting are taken care of. But in addition to sending out lamplighters or mechanics to repair damaged lamps, we also do research into new methods of illumination. That's what my personal specialization is. I help develop and test more efficient ways of lighting our streets. I guess you could consider me a modern-day Prometheus. Yes.
More like an everyday pretentious.
Thank you. Your cooperation is much appreciated.
Happy to help. Here's that letter you were asking about.
Now that's interesting. Whoever wrote this letter signed it with initials. They can't have been so stupid as to make themselves so easily identifiable, can they? Too bad you didn't get a chance to read that sign before their little experiment. Remember, a black eye is not a badge of honor. Anyone picking a fight will be dismissed immediately. Well, that's hardly any fun, is it?
Good evening.
Oh, it's you again. Small world.
Indeed. Mr. Shaw, was it?
That's right. So, what brings you around to the cab depot?
I wanted to ask you some questions if you can spare some time.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Did you know Reggie Willingham?
Reggie? Sure, I knew him. Well, just as rather I didn't.
Oh? Why do you say that?
The man was a bore, a scoundrel, a no-good bounder.
I wish he would tell us how he really felt.
Only reason they kept him on here was because he was a good driver.
So it's fair to say you didn't like him?
Nobody did. When I heard he'd been killed, it wasn't exactly a surprise. If I treated people the way he did, I'd surely have a lot of enemies.
Could you elaborate a bit on Mr. Willingham's behavior?
Oh, he was a proud one. Thought he was God's gift to mankind. Always strutting around, bragging about how many gratuities he'd earned or how many fist fights he'd won against drivers from Phillips. He had the shortest fuse I've ever seen, too. Just looking at him the wrong way could set him off. I'd always laugh to myself when he'd brag about how many women he'd had in a week.
Why is that?
Because it was obvious he had to pay for the pleasure. A man like that isn't going to get a woman otherwise. I may not be a hit with the ladies, but even I know that being a bastard is a surefire way to drive 'em off.
Are you familiar with the so-called Justice Killer?
I've heard a few rumors here and there about some murders in the chum, but I haven't paid 'em much attention. There's plenty for me to worry about in my own life.
Aren't you concerned for your safety?
Not really. Well, I haven't done anything wrong. So if this loony's going around doing justice, nothing for me to worry about.
He makes a good point. I think we need to get a better idea of what exactly these victims did to incur the wrath of our killer.
What can you tell me about Colson Cabs?
Not a bad place, really. Only problem is the number of people always coming here for work. Lots of folks think driving a cab is an easy job that anyone can do, but that's not the case. You need to know this city like the back of your hand, and it helps to know how to drive. So we get lots of fellas starting here who don't have the slightest clue what they're doing. They don't last long.
What about the automated cabs? Are those a problem for you?
I prefer not to think about those. Colson has said he's got no plans to replace his fleet, so it's all that matters to me.
Are you still living in Pumblechook Place?
I am, sir. Things are more or less the same, except Roger's not around anymore. Suppose he must have moved on. Hope he isn't planning on coming back, 'cause his paintings made for great kindling.
Oh, I have a feeling he won't be. Have you had any trouble from the Redites?
No, sir. They got no reason to give us any trouble, what with us still using horse-drawn cabs. I imagine the fellas over at Phillips have, but I can't be certain. We don't deal with those lot if we can help it.
I don't think interviewing anyone from Phillips would be a good use of our time. Our priority is finding the Justice Killer, after all.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Pleasure's all mine.
Safe for only 25 men at once. I used to draw the line at 2.
Excuse me.
Hey, what are you doing here? This is a construction area.
I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. I'm looking into the murder of a man who used to work here.
Fordham? You the same man who got Laura Dupre arrested?
Yes, that's right.
Ah, good to meet you. I'm Gerard. My sister Amelie used to work as her cook. Would tell me stories about how horrible Dupre was. Good to see some justice done for a change.
Glad to be of service. And good to meet you as well, Gerard.
So you say you looking into a murder? You talking about Bowditch?
Yes, that's right. I had a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Nah, should be okay to talk for a few minutes.
You worked with Ennis Bowditch, right? What can you tell me about him?
Ennis was fun to talk to, always telling stories. Pretty sure most of them were made up. But it made time go by faster while we worked, and he made me laugh. We weren't really friends, but it's duller without him around, you know?
Do you know what Bowditch did on his off time?
Not really. I only saw him on the job. But I know he was seeing a woman. I forget what he said her name was, though.
Did he mention anything else about her?
Oh, sure, but I don't think they're the type of thing that would help you, if you get my meaning.
Right. Anything of a non-personal nature that might help me find her?
Yes, he mentioned she worked as the serving girl at the ruined coffee house.
I see. Thanks. Do you know any details concerning Bowditch's murder?
I only found out when the boss man told us.
Can you think of anyone who might have wanted him dead?
Well, everyone here liked him. I don't think he owed no one money or nothing like that. But maybe someone at his other job wasn't so friendly with him. Who knows?
Other job?
Ennis also worked at the docks as a longshoreman.
Well, that would have been handy to know sooner. Better late than never, I guess.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
Justice Killer? No, I don't know anything about that. Who is he?
A serial murderer. He's the one who killed Ennis Bowditch.
And you trying to find him?
That's the plan.
Well then, I wish you luck. Ennis didn't deserve to die the way he did. I hope that murdering bastard gets what he deserves.
So, the Gascon-Chumley Bridge is finally being worked on.
That's right. The project started up again shortly after the election. That Leroy, he's not wasting any time. Maybe a good thing for this city and for the country.
Indeed. I think it will be. How long before the bridge is complete, do you think?
They say it will take 5 years, but who knows? As long as the work is steady, you won't find me complaining.
Do you normally work in construction?
Mostly. Sometimes I'd be doing other jobs here and there. But I'm lucky to have gotten this job. I think it will keep me in work for a long time. Which is good, because I have 3 mouths to feed at home.
Be sure to watch yourself then. I hear these types of jobs can be dangerous.
Oh, believe me, I know. One slip up and bam! That's the end of you. But I always watch myself.
How's your sister doing?
Good. She still works for the Dupre family, but with that monster Laura gone, she's much happier. She tells me the family is acting like the madame never existed, and the husband raised Amelie's pay, too.
That does sound like an improvement.
It's just a shame 2 others had to die for it.
Would you happen to know anything about the Redites?
I heard some of the other men talking about them, but I don't ask too many questions. Seems to me they just a bunch of angry and confused people with no other way to express themselves than lashing out. I admit I feel sorry for them.
You're not worried about Steam Tech putting you out of a job?
Nah. Machines can only do so much. You still need a man to make them work or to fix them when they're broke. I think them Redites are just making a big fuss over nothing.
Thank you, Gerard. I appreciate the information.
Not a problem, boss.
You heard about the murderer? The Justice Killer? Justice sort of deal? Yeah.
Hey, you know, the froth on my beer isn't dripping down this cup. I don't think they washed it.
Begging your pardon, miss.
No, one more
How
for
can
me.
I help you, sir?
I understand you were involved with Ennis Bowditch.
Was involved, yes. I haven't spoken to him in nearly 2 months.
Oh, were you not aware of his death then?
What? Ennis is dead?
Well, this is awkward.
Indeed. I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news.
How did it happen?
I'm afraid he was murdered.
Murdered? By who? And why?
Those are exactly the questions I'm trying to answer myself.
Oh, I see. Are you a detective?
A private investigator, yes.
Well, I'll answer what I can, if it helps any, that is.
I'm certain it will. What was your relationship with Mr. Bowditch like?
Oh, well, it was nice at first. He was a proper gentleman-like. But then something changed.
Oh?
It's like I told Ruby. I think he might have got hit on the head at work, because he seemed to be a completely different person. He'd get angry for no reason. He even... Well, that bit's not important. At first, I thought he was just going through some rough times, but after a while I realized he'd changed for the worse. So I broke things off. He wasn't too happy about it, but I wasn't going to stick with a man like that.
This friend of yours, Ruby, did she know an MP named Percival McDonough?
I'm not sure. Ruby knows a lot of men.
Is that so?
Well, no, I don't mean... It's just... Oh, damn it all, me and my big mouth. She'll have my guts for garters now.
It's all right. No one's in trouble. But I think I'd like to speak with Ruby. Could you tell me where I can find her?
No. You see, she moves around quite a lot. Never in the same place for more than a night or two.
Right. I think she's given us a clear picture of what Ruby does for a living. Normally, I'd be all for pressing this girl more until she cracks, but I like her. I think we'll be able to find Ruby without causing her more discomfort.
Well, thank you for the information. You've been very helpful. Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
Justice Killer? Is that some kind of pesticide?
No, it isn't. Never mind. You've been working here for quite a while, haven't you?
I have, yes. Coming up on 3 years. Been a real pleasure getting to know all the regulars. They've come to be sort of like a second family. By the way, whatever happened with you and your lady friend?
I beg your pardon?
Well, that nice lady you met in here a couple of times. Did it work out between the two of you?
Oh, that? No, that was strictly business.
Right. Well, if you see her, tell her I said hello.
I'll let you get back to work.
Thank you, sir.
Apartment 2A. This is the place. There doesn't seem to be anyone at home. The number is a bit faded. Is this 2B or is it not 2B? That's the question.
Yeah? May I help you, young man?
Hello, madam. My name is Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I have some questions about your neighbor.
You mean my former neighbor?
Yes. In any case, I'd appreciate it if you could help me with some information.
Nah, I don't think so. The last person to ask me about him was that awful policeman. I don't want to have to go through that again.
I'm sorry you had a bad experience, but I can assure you I won't give you a hard time.
Well, that's easy for you to say, but actions speak louder than words.
Uh-oh. I think I know where this is going.
Is there anything I can do for you then?
Well, since you asked, my layabout husband is out wasting our retirement fund with his drinking. Go find him and bring him back here. Then maybe we can talk.
Oh, wonderful. Now we're playing babysitter.
You'll find him at the Silent Raven. It's not too far from here.
Yes, I know it.
Good. My husband's name is Kurt Williamson. You tell him his wife Ethel wants him home at once.
I'll do my best, Mrs. Williamson.
Been pretty quiet in the
Thought I'd
streets
see
of late,
that
hasn't
bridge
it,
finished
Bertie?
in my lifetime. We just went on without him. 'Cause of course
Doesn't look like
it was
cleaning up
there.
is high on the list of priorities around here.
I don't like it when the streets are this quiet. I kind of miss all the traffic, you know.
Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
Do you know anything about the man sitting at that table over there?
Not really. He comes in here a few times a week, but he mostly keeps to himself. I see his type all the time, though. Older, probably retired and looking to escape his home life. I feel sorry for him, but that sort of customer is my bread and butter.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
What is that, some fancy drink concoction?
No. It's the name that's been given to a serial murderer here in the Chum.
I see. Never heard of him. And if he's smart, he won't show his face around here.
You know, this place suddenly feels just a little bit safer.
How are things here now that the election hubbub has subsided?
Oh, right. I thought you looked familiar. You were the one in here asking about the fellow who was killed.
That's right.
Well, there hasn't been too much excitement since then. I've hardly had to toss anyone out, which is a right shame.
Why's that?
Kicking out a rowdy customer shakes things up a bit on a quiet night like this. Gets the blood flowing, you know?
What would a customer have to do to warrant being thrown out?
My general rule is if they're being a nuisance, they're out. If they try to pick a fight or are just being generally disrespectful, it's a one-way ticket to the pavement outside.
Good to know. What was it you said a person had to do to get thrown out?
Pick a fight or just be bothersome enough that other customers complain about them.
Right. Thanks. I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Excuse me, are you Kurt Williamson?
That's right. Who are you?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator.
Oh, yeah? What is it you want from me?
Ethel sent me to tell you she wants you to come home right away.
I should have known. I can't get away for more than a few hours before she's put the entire city on high alert. How much of my retirement fund did she waste on getting you to come down here?
I'm only doing this because I need some information.
The joke's on you, then. You can just go back and tell her I'll come home when I'm damn well ready.
Why is it you're so averse to returning home?
I enjoy going out and having a good time. Is that so wrong?
Your wife told me she doesn't like you spending your money on drink.
What I spend my money on is none of her business, and even less of yours. What's this world coming to when a man can't even drink in peace without all his affairs shouted from the rooftops?
You know, this whole situation seems awfully familiar.
Listen, Mr. Williamson, I think I know what you're going through.
Oh, yeah?
My wife and I were having a rough patch. I wasn't being honest with her, and it nearly drove us apart.
But you managed to fix things.
Yes, I was fortunate. I did the right thing before it was too late.
And what did you do?
It was simple. I just communicated honestly and openly with her. I told her what was wrong and how I was feeling. And you know what? She listened. Have you ever told Ethel why you like going out?
No. I assumed she wouldn't understand. I really wish she would come out with me, but I know she'd never agree.
How do you know? Have you actually talked to her about this?
Well, no.
Well, then maybe you should. If she knew you wanted company, she might just give it a try.
You know, I never thought of it like that. I'm going to go home right now and tell her. And if she refuses, well, at least I asked, right?
That's the spirit.
Thanks for the advice, friend. I really do appreciate it.
Not bad. I have to say, I'm impressed.